We are taking back the month of June for the only flag that matters, and that is Old Glory. And what better way to do that than with a fantastic historical novel set against the backdrop of the American Revolution? I am talking, of course, about the 1943 masterpiece from Esther Forbes called Johnny Tremain. In 1957, it was adapted to film by none other than the Walt Disney Company back when they were in the business of making good films, especially good historical films and especially good historical patriotic films. Featuring a blend of fictional characters as well as actual historical figures, we get a look at Boston, Massachusetts, starting around 1773. Our main character is the eponymous Johnny Tremain. He is the apprentice to a silversmith, and he is a bit of a cocky kid. He's very self-assured. He's very good in the trade of silversmithing, and he's better than all of the other apprentices, but he's also a little bit arrogant, and he likes to rub it in their face. The tradesman to whom he is apprenticed is a little bit long in the tooth and not quite as diligent as he was in the earlier days of his trade. And despite him not being so engaged with his apprentices, Johnny is taken to the craft very, very well, to the point where he's good at bossing around the other boys, and unfortunately sowing resentment among them. When a client who is well-moneyed comes to hire the tradesman to replicate a piece in his collection, the man initially turns him down, but the family needs the money, and so the wife sends Johnny to say, hey, go tell this dude we can make this piece and you can hurry and make it for him on his deadline, even though it will require us to work on Sunday. Sabbath observance is a big deal to these people at this time, but they find themselves in an ox in the mire situation. And so they set to work, but one of the other boys in the smith works sabotages Johnny by giving him a crucible that is set to crack and shatter, and as payback for Johnny's showboating and arrogance and bossiness. Wouldn't you know it, during the smithing of this, is it forging? I know Logan Kersley is going to correct me in the comments here because it's a soft metal. During the fabrication process, this crucible cracks and molten silver lands on Johnny's hand, thus leaving him lame and therefore unable to continue his apprenticeship. He gets turned out, and then he begins the process of being humbled and starting his character arc in a different direction. Because he is still competent with letters and reading and other things that are relevant to a higher cause, he falls in with the Sons of Liberty. He ends up participating in the Boston Tea Party, and eventually becoming a member of the Whig Party, which opposes the Loyalists. This is, we'll say in layman's terms, the revolutionaries versus the Tories, the ones that want to remain one empire with Britain, and he becomes a rebel. The story then carries on with him acquiring his first rifle, but losing it to a friend of his, a compatriot named Rab. And you also get to see the midnight ride of Paul Revere, and the story then culminates in the Battle of Lexington and Concord. This story itself, I think, is more interesting and engaging than just the historical events against which it is set. And I think that's what gives this thing heart and gives it legs and gives it soul. You can read any dry historical account of these things, of the Boston Tea Party, of Paul Revere's ride, of the shot heard round the world, and they can be intriguing and they can be compelling. But Esther Forbes does more than just create a character to walk through these events. Johnny Tremain has his own story. He has his own arc. So do his friends. She really puts you on the ground with what feels like a real flesh and blood character as he gets caught up in all of this and makes his own decisions within the framework of these events. It's a very moving novel. I've got a print copy in my library at home. I've enjoyed the audiobook a couple of times now. It's narrated by George Guidall, who does the Longmire books. I think it's cool that we get a whole month starting on October 1st to gear up for Halloween, and then a whole month starting on November 1st to gear up for Thanksgiving. And then as soon as those leftovers are in the fridge, a month or maybe even more to gear up for Christmas. But if we're going by that same model, it feels like we've only got a couple of days to get excited for Independence Day. And then what do you do for the rest of July? Well, if you're in Utah, you celebrate Pioneer Day. But I'm in Oklahoma now, and they're not so big on that here. That's why I think that June should be the rev up month for Independence Day, especially because June 14th gives us Flag Day, a very, very lesser known holiday on the American calendar. We've got Memorial Day at the end of May, Flag Day in the middle of June, and I think if ambitiously observed, we could cap off this trifecta of American holidays with Independence Day on July 4th. And Johnny Tremain is a perfect novel to get in the mood for Independence Day. I'm also rereading up on a couple of different books about Deborah Sampson, and that's led me to read a new one, a nonfiction about her, that I am about halfway through at the time of this recording, and I am tremendously enjoying this book. I cannot wait to finish it and do a video on it. She's another revolutionary character. I've described her in previous videos as the American Mulan, a woman who dressed up as a man to join the Continental Army and fight in the American Revolution. She was not the only woman to do this, but she managed to escape detection for a record 17 months and even got a pension. It took her a couple of years and a lot of arbitration and advocacy, but she earned a pension for the time that she served in the military. We'll talk more about her later. Go grab yourself a copy of Johnny Tremain by Esther Forbes. Grab the paperback, or if you're into audiobooks, grab the one narrated by George Goodell. And let me know what you guys think. Till next time, drive safe. See you out there.